If you've ever found yourself asking the question, why do I act like this? And want an answer? Then stick around. This is for part two of my interview with author Karen Rubinstein, who wrote the book called The Return Way, which is a great book that can teach you a tool that will help you to answer that question and find a way out of acting the way that you don't want to be acting anymore. In this episode, we're digging into the method itself. The journey continues.
No, I mean, like the whole thing about love, and like, and that realization only came in the past like year or so. I was like, wow, like, why am I trying to protect my heart? Like, my heart is where I should always lead with, and that doesn't mean like in a soft way. It means in a real true way. Like, and if I don't get in trouble anymore, like I used to kind of like create friction. I
Mm,
was a different person than I am now.
mhm.
I was kind of like very opinionated, very let me tell you what's not what is wrong with this, and
Yeah.
now my ego I've gotten right sized, as they say. I'm no better than other people, and other people are no better than me.
Yeah.
I I felt that other people were better than me.
Hmm.
And that hurt me a lot in life.
Yeah.
So
Well, and two, I think um, you talked about our heart's the last thing we need to protect, but we're taught so, that's not what we hear. We hear, guard your heart, protect your heart. And um, that can be, if somebody's still doing that, understand that's such a natural thing to do. It's such a natural thing to do. And whatever protections we've used, they're to be careful not to beat ourselves up about that because they served a purpose. We didn't come from God being defensive and with these walls. We learned somewhere along the line that that's what we needed to protect ourselves. And
mhm,
so that's fine. It's fine. Just soften up and go, okay, but is this working now? And if
mhm,
you're feeling that friction, then it's something's not working.
yeah,
And to be able to go, okay, get the help in from wherever, from, clergy or friends or coaches or physicians or psychiatrists or whomever, get the help from somewhere and to be able to trust enough to start letting that go and just looking at those things that we've developed that are protections that maybe aren't serving us anymore so that we can then open up and really, hopefully come to the point where you have where it's like, oh, I don't need to protect my heart. I mean, I don't need, I'm protecting myself against real love, not pretend love, real
yeah,
love.
yeah,
And man, we want to be swimming in that pool as much as we can?
yeah. No, I mean, I just think of so many people that are like so afraid of life because they've been so wounded, and then they isolate more. And I
Mhm.
was becoming an isolator, and you're right, like we're all social beings. Um, as for insights on getting back to who I was, and we were talking, when you said that we're not born that way. No, absolutely. You don't look like a baby or a toddler. They're just all joy and love, and there's like that just happiness. And it's getting back to that. So what happened? So part of my journey, I was about 3 years ago or so, and I was doing some work on myself with the hyannis method, and one of them is going back into childhood. Now, I had been in therapy since I was 23. And hey, listen, therapy is like really a wonderful, wonderful avenue, and it's very helpful to a point. But for me, it was to a point because I could go into therapy and say, I had a really rough childhood, and this is what my mother did, and this is what happened, and this was what happened.
Mhm.
And that was true. But then I left with no insight, except
Mhm.
feeling like, yeah, my family was jerks. And
Mhm.
then it made me feel distant from my family. It didn't mend fences. It just made me feel more righteous. Well, I have a right to my anger. I have a right to these emotions. Yeah, I really was treated badly. Yeah, they're bad. Where was the growth in that? So I remember doing this work, and that is incorporated in the method is go back and Okay, so say my mother hit me. And I remember the question being asked me, what lie did you make at that time? And I got angry. I said, what lie? I was 5 years old. Why are you telling me I was a liar? And this sweet, dear woman, she looked at me and she goes, no, what did you tell yourself that wasn't true? Did you think that you were unlovable? And I was like, oh, I probably thought I deserved it. And all these things that a child will think, what happened? And it doesn't have to be hitting. I mean, there could be a
Hmm.
misconception or a belief that we start on the most innocuous moments of our childhood that make our thoughts go a little, a
Hmm.
different way of seeing the world, like, oh, that hurt. But it had to do with me, and I have to hide this part of me now. And I hid
Hmm.
a lot of parts off me that I thought were offensive or that I shouldn't. And you've seen it like with the 12-year-old girls, like at this point they're very quiet. We get quiet. Um, don't. So yeah, no, understanding was key. Understanding, getting insight, and like a big aha moment, like, oh my God, I thought I deserved bad treatment. That kind of explains a few things. One of the words that I understood, I woke up one morning, it was about a year and a half ago, and the word valueless popped into my head, but it popped into my heart.
Hmm.
And I thought, that's an old wound. I knew it immediately because it hurt so bad. And I thought, I really truly thought that of myself. And I had to like really ponder that. And I had to rewrite that part of me and say, I'm not valueless. But it explained how the trajectory of my life, it was a pattern. If I felt valueless throughout my life, I didn't
Hmm.
really succeed in different things. I didn't feel I deserved things.
Hmm.
It colors, it changes your life. And again, these are patterns that we have throughout our life. And it's like, gee, why do I act this way?
Hmm.
Why, why do I keep dating like a guy that is, emotionally distant? Like why does this? And if we can understand that we have upside down thoughts that started with some things years ago and that we continued and kept it as a part of ourselves. And we didn't do it on purpose. Like you were saying before, these were all protective things. Like, what do I do? What do I have to hide? What do I have to rearrange in my head or in my personality to please the world?
Hmm.
And then eventually we're not pleasing ourselves, we're not pleasing the world. So
Yeah.
it's a man, it was a big knotted. You know how you open up a jewelry box and all those necklaces are all entangled? That was my brain, that was my
Yeah.
emotions. It was just a tangled. And every day, even today, every day I pull them apart, pull them apart. Um, so it's just a constant work. But the more I do, um, and the better, I remember my sister who passed a few years ago. On her deathbed, the last thing she ever said to me was like, look out for number one. And I for a long time thought that was a selfish way of looking
Hmm.
out for number one. But when she died, she was surrounded by her three children who loved her, a beautiful home. She created beauty in her life, a husband who adored her. She gave back as a teacher and a fine artist by looking out for number one. It wasn't selfish. She refueled her tank and took care of herself so she could help others. So, you know, that
Hmm.
that's an amazing outcome from all the work that I do. I feel really blessed because the stronger I get and the more I get on a clearer path, then I
Hmm.
can kind of walk ahead of others and shine
Hmm.
a light on the path like,
Hmm.
hey, it's okay. Like you can go this way and that
Hmm.
rock, don't worry about it. You have the ability to overcome it. It's okay. The rock is supposed to be there. That's a little lesson.
Yeah.
Like I walk along the path and I cannot constantly work on myself. So I can write, so I can talk, so I can help. Because
Hmm.
I honestly, the whole reason why I even got into coaching or any of this work was because I never wanted people to suffer the way that I went through.
Hmm. Hmm. So let's talk about what you came up with in this. And I want to share with listeners that Karen was generous enough to share an advanced reader copy with me. So I got to read it ahead of its release. And again, I've never struggled with alcohol or, had to go to rehab or those kind of addictions. But I found, I mean, immediately as I was going through this, there were things that came up, and I was in tears the first time I read it. And it was very helpful. And it's these, to me, the ideas are not new ideas, but they're framed in a way that's just so helpful. And even though I already had an advanced reader copy, as soon as it was released, I wanted this in my hands. And so this talk about your method that you came up with for dealing with these things, for overcoming the fear, for recognizing and being able to just let the facade go and live that authentic life, that life that is really full of love, and being able to be at peace as yourself, and to recognize the thinking that we have that then develops the habits and the patterns that we have that keep us from that. So as she said earlier, it's the return way. It's about to return to yourself. That's what we're returning to. So
Right.
talk to us about the method. What is your acronym? What does return mean?
Okay, so return, like I said, I was so happy that it fell that way because I had the methodology and I was trying to figure out like the letters and it ended up with return. So our for is reveal the story. So I'll preface with this. There's two ways that you could use it in real time in a real situation, or if you wanted to dive deeper, and I'm going to be doing workshops. I don't have them set like on a schedule yet, but if they go to my website, I will like announce them. I should have one by like the summer. But um okay, so you could do it in real time in a real short. I could do this like really quickly. Or you could do like a workshop or take paper and go over the past and start to see the patterns. But I recommend doing that only if you have someone to talk to through it. So R is for reveal the story. And this is really great because it sets you in a more journalism major, like method of who, what, where, when, why. Let's get the facts. What is happening? So you're able to pull back in distance and say and look at it objectively, not get rid of some of these emotions. Who, what, where, when, why. Reveal the story. Explore the thoughts going on that you're having that are creating this anger, this disturbance. Trace the patterns. T for trace the patterns. Where have I felt this way before? Where has this happened? And you start to see this has gone through your life. Um, Uncover the fear. There's always fear that's underlying everything. So what is my fear? Is it fear of abandonment? Then, okay, so now rewrite the story. How can, now that I see that it's not based on what's happening, how do I rewrite it in a more positive way, in a more truthful way for myself? And then nurture, that's the N for nurture the story, nurture the new truth. It's easier to explain it. I'll give you a real life example. So my husband, I was telling him something a few months ago, and it was, it was important to me. And about halfway through, I realized he wasn't really paying attention. And I felt I felt something. I felt anger. And then I felt hurt. So I know it's like, oh, okay. So I pause. That's a big thing. Instead of going, hey, why do, like jumping to a reaction, I pause because now I know enough to say, this is a little flag, this is a little signal, something's going on. What? Okay. So what's happening? Okay, Barry is not paying attention to me. That's what's happening right now. So let's explore the thoughts. Okay, what are these thoughts that are going racing through my head that I wasn't even aware of? Because once I can pause and distance
Mhm.
myself for a moment, I'm going, oh, I'm not important. He doesn't care. Little thoughts like
Mhm.
this. Well, those are going to snap into anger. I'm not important. He doesn't care. Let's trace those patterns. Where have I felt that before? Oh, okay. Immediately I can think of, well, when I was a kid, I was told to be quiet, or I was ignored. I was one of many in the house, so, a very tumultuous house. I wasn't seen.
Mhm.
Oh, that hurt. And I could, uncover the fear. Um, Emotional abandonment. I feel alone. I feel unloved, like not cherished, not important. So I have fears about this that I don't matter.
Mhm.
Oh, now, and this happens when I do this. Now that feeling that I had, suddenly I feel my chest like relax. And I feel a space because I'm like, oh, okay, okay. Okay. I understand what is happening in me. And I realize it's an old story. So now instead of going off the top of my head, reacting, now I can rewrite the story calmly and say, well, okay, I do have importance. Our marriage is good. He's my best friend. He's always there for me. Like, and now I see him in a kinder light.
Mhm.
I value myself. I value him. Now I'm feeling even better. Now the chest is open so much. I'm speaking through my heart. And now and in a loving way, I'll be like, hey, hon, I really wanted to talk to you. And, you seem a little distracted. Is this a nice time or do you want to talk later? Really, I and when it happened, he looked at me and it was like like he woke up from a dream. He goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry." He goes, "Something happened at work and blah blah blah." And I all I could think of was something I needed to do. I apologize. So it brings us closer together in that moment.
Mhm.
Whereas in the past, mine would have been like, my husband's a jerk. And maybe gone and had like a piece of cake or gone shopping. I'm out of here. Nobody pays attention. Nobody loves me. Like I don't know, but my reaction now is different, or my behavior, because have an understanding. So
Mhm.
my marriage has gotten better through this. I mean, we used to be the Bickersons, like anything was an affront to me. How could you do this? Or, like, oh, like so many misunderstandings because I wasn't being real and
Mhm.
speaking my truth. So I hope
Well,
that makes it clear.
yeah, and that understanding that the more that we do this, that process that you just took time to explain, that can happen in a matter of seconds
Oh, it does.
when we understand this and we go, okay, wait a minute, what's going on here? And we can run through that. At first, it feels like, wait, I'm going to sit there. This is going to be in the situation. He's going to be not listening, and I'm going to feel hurt. And I'm just going to sit back on the couch and sit there for 10 minutes running through all this in my brain. And at first it does take a little longer because it's a new process.
Yeah.
But you can with it doesn't take that long before this becomes like once we understand this process, we can just
It,
go, oh, tick, 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 tick.
hmm
Oh, and get to that point really quickly and have that peace and that resolution and um that that healthy place where it's realizing that him not listening to me right now has nothing to do with my value as a person, and that was the bottom line of why I was having a problem with this. So let's go
yeah,
from there.
yeah.
um
And he's not a jerk or whatever,
mhm,
buffoon. No, he's
mhm,
my loving dear husband. Like, let's
yeah,
rewrite it. Like,
yeah.
but
But
it's funny. Oh, go ahead.
oh, just a couple of things that just real quickly, when you're talking about, this the story that we tell ourselves sometimes too, and you go, oh, you get in that situation, and then you just instead of bringing this return and returning to yourself in that moment, if we just go, he's just a jerk. And then we call our friend and we go, oh my gosh, this happened again and he did it again. And depending on the friend you have, sometimes it'll be like, oh my gosh, oh men, they're just such idiots. They don't understand. They don't emotions. They don't know about anything. And you end up in this cycle. And it's really important to not just recognize what you're saying to yourself, but recognize the input you're getting from other places too.
Hmm
Um, and are they supporting the unhealthy story or are they supporting a healthier story? And that that can make a big difference
Oh, yeah.
as to who's having that input as well.
Oh yeah, friends are great. They're going to go by whatever you're telling them. They're going to like choose you all the time. So yeah, and it's going to add fuel to the fire. And
Yeah.
that's what I was saying too, even about therapy. The therapist was like, "Yeah, your family, we're jerks. Oh, they're jerks." And it's like, okay, well,
So where do we go from
okay.
here?
Yeah, it's like, well, that's like a really crummy story that I'm living in because,
Yeah.
it really my marriage was really, at times it was really not that great because it created such distance.
Hmm.
But here's something too, you were talking about like, can you do it in real time? What I've learned is that we don't have a 10 million like list of wounds that we're trying to protect or heal. There's usually like a few things like that word valueless or
Hmm.
unlovable. Like I have a short list of several that were old, really core wounds
Hmm.
that will kick up
Hmm.
that I'm aware of at this point. So I can
Hmm.
almost do the short list. But it
Hmm.
takes like a little bit of practice. Like, what are your
Yeah.
core wounds? What are the ones that are still healing? Because we've been wounded, through various things over the years, but it
Hmm.
usually always goes back to like a few that are the underlying
Hmm.
fears that
Hmm.
someone's going to leave. I remember a girl telling a story that she didn't realize that she had such a fear of abandonment, and it didn't come from anything horrific. Her parents went on a weekend trip when she was 4 and she was left with a babysitter, and she realized it traumatized her for life. You don't know because, like, her upside down thought was, oh, they left me. And that's all she couldn't. So, and but once you realize that it's not scary anymore, like, oh, I have this little wound, a big
Hmm.
wound of
Hmm.
being abandoned.
Hmm.
And, so now I realize if I get in an angry or, sad mode, what wound was being hurt. But it's so funny. I think I wrote about this in Substack too. I do bear all. Yeah, I think I did. I did. It was Barry and I, we went to the beach and all day long, he was in the mood. Like I knew it. I knew he didn't want to go. He's not a beach person, but I really wanted to take the dog. And I would have been happier bringing like a big sack of potatoes because Barry when he's in a mood and he doesn't want to do something, he's physically there, but mentally, it's like the wet blanket of life is just, oh. And so, what did I do? Okay, here's one of my other little masks. Let's be the cheerleader. Yay! Karen's going to cheer throughout the day. Isn't the beach lovely? What a beautiful day. Oh, so I'm doing that to overcompensate and try to lift his mood. So I'm in his lane, which I shouldn't be anyway. Um, and it finally cracked at the end of the day. There was one little grunt of "Meh" on his end that finally tipped me. And yeah, I'm not perfect. I was like, you ruined this day, Heidi. It was horrible. He got mad. We couldn't even eat our ice creams that we had bought. We're just like sitting in like he's silent on his cell phone, and I'm sitting on the sofa thinking, oh, and then I'm like, okay, enough. And I was like, and sometimes I'm like, why don't you do your return way yourself?
I
And
have a book for you.
I, I even wrote a book. But no, I'm going to sit and stew for a while because that's so healthy for everybody and so pleasant. So yeah, I did it. And I was like, okay. And I looked at the situation for what it was. And, and I worked my way through. And then I was able finally to be like, and I realized that he felt he was being the good husband by being physically present. Like he does honor that we're very committed to each other. And so finally my arm I was calm and I realized I rewrote it. He's always there for me. Got through, realized I had a fear of like that I was stuck in a pattern actually of being emotionally like abandoned from,
Mhm.
and I that's a big fear of mine, the emotional abandonment, being
Mhm.
alone.
Mhm.
So I worked it through, and finally, and he was not ready to receive anything from me at this point,
Mhm.
but he's laying there, and I go, I have to apologize. I go, I now I understand. I go, I feel like you really thought that you were, you were there for me. I go, and I know I pushed it. I go, I knew you didn't like the beach. I go, you know what? The next time I really want to do something that you're not going to enjoy, you don't want to do. I go, I think it's fair for us to have a day, like, do your thing. And I was just trying to open up suggestions, open up a
Mhm.
conversation,
Mhm.
and I could feel the tension just ease. And like I could hear him sigh across the room, like, ah, and he's like, yeah, he goes, no, thank you for that. And he goes, I apologize too. He goes, I was really down today. And so we talked and we
Mhm.
laughed and we were able to finish our ice cream that I'd thrown in the freezer. Like it was like it saved the day, but it brought us closer.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, that might have stewed for a few days and it might have like put another nail in a coffin of,
Mhm.
he doesn't get me. I'm alone. Like, no, no,
Mhm.
so yeah, so happy
Those
to have it. So,
the going back to that key moment of rewriting the story,
mm,
I think that that's something that um, when we're first doing this, that can feel inauthentic because it's like, you said, and I'm like that too. I'm the cheerleader. I become the cheerleader. And it's like, well, but I mean, the truth of this moment is that that he's not here with me. I mean, physically he is, but he's not here. That's the truth. That's it. And it's like, no, that's the outside truth. But that
mhm.
rewriting can sometimes feel inauthentic. It's like, no, that's me just trying to be Pollyanna, you know? And just really realizing that it's not about, oh, so the rewriting is not, and now I'm going to find a way to slap a happy face on this. The
Oh no.
rewriting is what's more true.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true that your
Yeah.
husband was there with you at the beach, but
Okay.
not really there with you at the beach.
Right.
That is true.
Right.
But what's more true is that, and the like, kind of like the bottom line truth is that he really does do what he knows how to do to be there
Mm,
for you.
yeah.
And that it was the way he was acting was triggering something in you. And so it's like there's a deeper truth to that.
Oh yeah.
And it can, so that rewriting can feel a little inauthentic or Pollyanna-ish. And if it feels like that, then go a little deeper because there's another truth underneath that.
Absolutely. Honestly, it could start out and it is a lighter way to just say, well, he's been my loving, supportive husband and my friend. But it also just starting to rewrite in that way.
Mhm.
Actually, those are true. But yeah, what is the deeper truth? And you write and you write. But even for just getting through the moment, I can look at the facts of our history together.
Mhm.
And then, once I come from a loving space, we can find out more about each other and what was really going on. So then
Mhm.
he could say what his truth is. It just opens it up. It gives space into a room where there was none and
Yeah.
everything was shut down.
Yeah.
No, the power of positive thinking, there was like something, there's some book about the happiness book and how
Mhm.
you can't
Mhm.
just think positive. I tried so many methodologies like throughout the years, like think positive, and but if you're not understanding why you're like down or whatever, and you're just putting a band-aid on like a big gash in your leg, and it's like, and you're just like, it's okay. Well, no, no, the gash is still there and it's not going to heal, like
Yeah.
it's all about healing and
Yeah.
learning. And doing, it's an ongoing process. Do I do it perfectly all the time? No. Again, it's about getting more information, finding
Mhm.
out more about another person, finding out more about yourself, but in a deep, deep, deep level. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And where can people find you if they want to get a hold of you, Karen?
KarenRubinstein.com is my website. Oh, I put some, I write on the
Yeah.
Substack. So I
Hmm.
have that. Substack is at Karen Rubinstein Out Loud. And my Rubinstein is Rubinstein. Oh, you know what? And if you go on the website, I didn't even touch on this. I'm like so excited. My book is really grounded in a lot of psychology and science based. So I pulled all the science for each part of the method um, in my website. Also, there's a freebie on my website. If you're interested in the book, but you just want like a little taste of it, you can download a little free taste. It's like 20 pages, just an introduction to the Return Way. And on Amazon, they can buy the book at amazon.com/author/Karen Rubinstein. So if you look for my name, you'll find it. RUBIN.
Yeah,
So
she's very Google friendly. If you just type in Karen Rubinstein, Ruben with an I, then all of this will come up. And
yeah.
I will have have some of these web addresses in the episode description. Actually, I should say episodes description because I think we're going to be splitting this into two.
Oh, great.
Um, anyway, so thank you so much, Karen. And is there this is just my favorite question to ask people at the end of when I'm chatting with them. What to you, because we're all about nourishing our body and our soul, creating a life that really nourishes us. So, what do you think are some of the top or the top couple things that you think are key to having a life that's truly nourished body and soul?
Well, I really, really do. When I try to calmly go deep, and people say, well, what does that mean? I try not to go off the top of my head, and I try to live through my heart. So lining up with my heart gets me in a line with my spirit. So that's alignment. And I feel like every time I reach deep and I connect it with my higher power, everything that I do is brings out like more love into the world and connects more people. And
Mm,
that's what I'm about. So I'm living less in my head. I do a lot of work in my head. It's a great tool, but it's not where I speak or come from. I speak from the heart.
mhm.
Um, Again, I hope that answered that. So,
Yes, thank you so much. So much appreciate you being here. So much
oh yeah,
appreciate
me
you.
too. This was a delight. You're just so amazing, Tracy. Very blessed to know you, and thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. And thanks for you for joining us today on the Nourish Life for Christian Women. And keep tuned for more wonderful interviews like this. See you next time.